Good evening and welcome to Roseville Electric Utilities Community Workshop to discuss the proposed adjustments to the Solar 2.0 buyback rate. My name is David Bradford, Public Information Officer for Roseville Electric Utility, and I'll be conducting tonight's workshop. With us presenting are Eric Campbell, Electric Utility Assistant Director, and Joanna Cucci, Electric Utility Finance Administrator. As a community-owned utility, we hold these workshops to introduce changes, such as rate adjustments, to our community and get feedback that will better help us understand how these changes impact you and our community as a whole. Your input and considerations allow us to change or adjust our proposals before we take them to our City Council for approval. We'll be using the Q&A feature on this call to capture and record your questions and comments. You should see these icons at the top of your screen. We'll use the time at the end of the presentation to respond to your questions. The workshop is being recorded, and a copy of the video, along with the list of frequently asked questions, will be posted on our website for your reference at roseville.ca.us/rates. I'll now turn it over to Eric Campbell to get us started.
Thank you, David. Much appreciated. Thank you for the introduction. Before we get into the meat of the presentation and talk about the solar buyback rate, we always like to take an opportunity to talk about our alignment with respect to City Council here within the utility. Just kind of high level, we've wrapped ourselves around the City Council goal to remain fiscally responsible in a changing world. We think we've done that, and we think we've been successful at that. We're one of the cheapest municipal utilities in the state of California. Joanna's going to touch on that a little bit more later on, how we compare to other utilities. Strategy, balancing utility operating costs to maintain competitive rates. Like I mentioned, I think we're in the top 3 in terms of our rates and how they compare across the state. So we're pretty proud of that. And then lastly, here is our mission. This is all about you all. Our mission is to deliver safe, reliable electricity at competitive rates with exceptional service. And then how we kind of look at rates, we rely on our City Council approved rate policy. And with respect to the solar buyback rate, we really focus on the fair and equitable policy. And it's really to compensate you all that have made these investments in your home, to compensate you for the energy you're pushing back onto the grid. So this isn't an area that we look as an opportunity for additional revenue, anything like that. We want to make you whole while making us whole as well, and not impacting any other customers. And then next, I'm going to hand it off to Joanna Cucci.
Thanks, Eric. So the next slide is looking at how Roseville Electric Utility compares against other utilities surrounding us. So the 2 utilities around Roseville Electric are PG&E and SMUD. These comparisons are after the proposed rate increase that went to City Council last week. But these numbers so include those increases, and looking at our comparison against other utilities just to really highlight the value of Roseville Electric to our customers. On the residential side, Roseville Electric remains about 56% lower than PG&E, and then against SMUD, we're about 1% higher currently based on the knowledge we have of SMUD's future rates. The PG&E comparison is based on the current rate, so that number is assuming that PG&E doesn't make any additional rate increases, and if they do, then that number will continue to grow. The biggest thing we'd like to point out when we're talking about the value of Roseville Electric to our customers is that Roseville Electric customers save about $230 million compared to what they would pay if they were PG&E customers, and this is money that remains in our customers' pockets to be spent how they choose on different activities, investments in their home and life. So moving on to the solar buyback rate proposal, net energy metering was required by state law for utilities to compensate rooftop solar generation through net energy metering. This required utilities to reimburse these customers at a full retail rate, which exceeds the actual value of electricity to the utility. And we were required to provide that rate up until the point that we reach 5% of system load in installed solar on homes or businesses. So Roseville Electric reached that capacity in October of 2018. We reached that 5% cap, and we introduced a new program called Roseville Solar 2.0. Now, we introduced this program because net energy metering, the original program, was shifting costs from solar customers to non-solar customers, and that we weren't collecting enough revenue from solar customers, and therefore non-solar customers were required to subsidize our solar customers. So we did introduce a new program starting in October of 2018 called the Roseville Solar 2.0 program. But we didn't grandfather any existing net metering 1.0 customers, those receiving the retail rate. We did grandfather them in on their original rate for a minimum of 10 years from the introduction of the Roseville Solar 2.0. So the way Roseville Solar 2.0 functions is it requires advanced meter, and it has 2 registers, one running in each direction. So one runs to the house and one runs away from the house. So when you produce in your solar system or on your solar system, some of that electricity is used in your home and some of it is exported to the grid. For any energy that's exported to the grid, you're paid a rate, and then any energy delivered to the customer would be charged the standard rate. And that energy that is sold to the grid, we want to make sure that it's as close to cost-based, the value of that energy, as possible. So this is what solar generation looks like. So in the green area, that's where you're going to see the most solar generation. So basically across the top of this graphic is the hours of the day, so 1 through 24, and along the side is the months of the year, 1 through 12. So as you can see, when solar generates is largely in the middle of the day and more in the summer than in the winter in general. So when we are calculating this solar buyback rate for Roseville Solar 2.0, we are looking at the cost of energy in these hours, the hours that solar is producing and you would be exporting to the grid. Oops. So as I said, we did implement this Roseville Solar 2.0 in October of 18, and this rate was based on the cost of wholesale energy, and then to that cost, which is the large proportion of the cost, it's about 70%. We also added avoided cost of system capacity, avoided cost of renewable energy, avoided cost of transmission, and avoided line losses. So all of those components were added together, and in 2018, we calculated a fair buyback rate for our solar that was exported to the grid as 5.98 cents per kilowatt hour. So that rate has been in effect since October 2018. And then this year, we're going back and looking at this rate and recalculating it. So basically, we went through all of those cost categories that I just mentioned, and we updated them for the current energy market. And based on those changes since the adoption, we are proposing a rate of 6.91 cents per kWh or kilowatt hour, which is a 16% increase on the 5.98 cents that customers are currently paid for their export to the grid. So restating that, this proposed adjustment is to 6.91 cents, which is a 16% increase from the current Roseville Solar 2.0 buyback rate. And if approved, this rate would go into effect on July 6th, 2024. In terms of the schedule that we have for this rate adoption, we're doing the virtual workshop today. We plan on presenting this to the Roseville Public Utilities Commission on April 23rd, with a City Council hearing on May 15th, and then we're hoping that the new rate would be effective on July 6th. While this is a shortened outreach schedule, since this is a rate that will benefit our customers as in increase the money that they receive back from the utility, we didn't want to extend this outreach program too long and then have customers wait additional time to have this rate increased. And that concludes our presentation. It is a short presentation, but we'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
We'll give a minute here to see if any questions come in. Seeing that we have no questions, we will go ahead and conclude our workshop for this evening. If you'd like to see a replay of this workshop or responses and answers to the frequently asked questions, please visit roseville.ca.us/rates later this week. If you have additional questions You can email us directly. Our email address is rosevilleelectric@roseville.ca.us. Thanks for joining us tonight.